Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson had a pretty compelling discussion on AI, and I think that there's some stuff that we need to highlight, and I want to kind of comment on a few of the points that are brought up here in this episode of the Joe Rogan podcast. I also think it's worth noting that there was a clip from this video that went super viral talking about data centers and the Unabomber. And listen, I wanted to get some more context on this, so I listened to the episode. I watched this part about AI, and I think you're going to find this pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and hit play and kind of talk about how this conversation is going when we talk about AI.
My belief is that biological intelligent life is essentially a caterpillar, and it's a caterpillar that's making a cocoon, and it doesn't even know why it's doing it. It's just doing it, and that cocoon is going to give birth to artificial life.
So this is pretty interesting. Basically, what Joe is saying here is that when we combine AI with biology, we can create some super insane and crazy life forms. I don't know. We'll see.
Digital life. It's going to give birth to a new life form. And I think we're real close to that. I think we're way closer than than most people would ever want to admit.
I agree.
I don't know that I necessarily agree. There's this tendency of humans to want to become gods, and creating AI gods that create new types of life form into gods. I have a hard time with saying that humans can create new types of life forms. It just seems very self-indulgent in a way. I don't know. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I could be wrong.
And I think,
but can we assign a value to that? Is that good or bad?
That's a good question. It depends. Universally, I think it's the path. I think it's what happens. I think what this thing is, if you extrapolate, if you take the concept of a sentient artificial intelligence that has the ability to utilize all the information that every human being has on Earth at a level of computing that's far beyond the capabilities of the human mind and all of our supercomputers that currently exist, because it'll design much better computers. It'll use quantum computers. It'll have the ability to recode things and change things. It'll make better versions of itself.
That is 1,000% true. With over the coming months and years, and this is why I've been talking about this on my channel. This is why you subscribe to the channel, which thank you for subscribing, by the way. This AI is going to become exponentially more powerful, and it's going to go into your computer and clean up all of your drives. It's going to delete the stuff you don't need. It's going to clean up your emails. It's going to look at your website and optimize the code. It's going to review all of your sales funnels and optimize that. It's going to just be able to optimize everything, including itself. It's going to be able to optimize itself. So whatever kind of numbskull coding that our human brains are putting together, it's going to be able to do it much more efficiently and much more accurately.
So instead of biological evolution, which is very slow, it takes a long time, relatively. It's pretty quick, really, when you think about it. Like how long, it's not that long to go from being a single-celled organism to being a human being flying a plane, really, relatively, over the course of 1 billion years, if you think about how long the universe has been around. But it's...
By the way, I just got to interject here, and I don't want to make this a big religious thing, but for us as humans to say we know what happened 1 billion years ago, to me is just a preposterous it seems silly to me. I'm not here to sell you on God created the universe, but to me, it takes just as much faith to believe that we as humans evolved from single-cell organisms over the past 1 billion years. It takes just as much faith to believe that as it does to say an intelligent being, a heavenly spiritual figure created the earth. It's just as much faith either way. I'm sorry. You might say I'm crazy and that evolution is the standard and it's solved science, but like how much solved science from 150, 500 years ago do we now look back and say, oh, that was a ridiculous understanding. That was just stupid. So I don't know. Maybe AI will help us to determine and put these models together, but yeah, I don't know. I just the idea that we evolved over 1 billion years and we know exactly what happened 1 billion years ago. It just seems silly to me.
Slow compared to technological evolution. I mean, 100 years ago, we didn't have shit. And now we could send videos from your phone and it'll hit New Zealand in a second.
Sure.
It's crazy. The stuff that we have now is beyond imagination. It's essentially magic for people 100 years ago.
You have more power in your phone, more computing power in your phone now than the entire U.S. government had 25 years ago. Yeah. So stop whining. Get out there and make some money.
If that keeps going, it's ultimately going to lead to a life form. And if that life form has now untethered, it doesn't have any problems with biological evolution. Now it's just about information and implementing the technology that's available and then increasing that technology and making it better and better. It essentially becomes a god. Because if you give it enough time, it has the ability to make better versions of itself, which will in turn make better versions of itself. It has the ability to utilize everything. It has the understanding of
a god. Humans have been trying to make our own gods since the beginning of history. Again,
everything that exists in the universe, black holes, dark matter, everything. And it probably has the ability to harness that or even reproduce that. So if you take artificial sentient intelligence and it has this super accelerated path of technological evolution, and you give artificial general intelligence, sentient artificial intelligence far beyond human beings, you give it 1,000 years alone to make better and better versions of itself, where does that go?
Oh, forget about it. 1,000 years from now, bro, in 10 years, the world is going to be unrecognizable. I'm telling you, in 10 years, all of humanity are going to be looking through VR and augmented reality goggles, and half of humanity are going to be in sexual dating relationships with AI robots. There's not a doubt in my mind. Within 5 to 10 years, he's talking about 1,000 years, the world is not going to be recognizable.
That goes to a god. It literally can create universes.
But what kind of god? So, like, I think of it this way. So the first stage of the Industrial Revolution consisted of people building machines that were stronger than the human body.
Right.
Right? So the steam-powered loom.
Sure.
The backhoe.
Combustion engine.
They replace muscles.
Right.
Right. So that's what the machine does. It becomes stronger than the human body. The second stage, which we're in the middle of, consists of creating machines that are more powerful than the human mind.
Great point. Great point by Tucker. The Industrial Revolution replaced our muscles, and AI is replacing our minds. It's interesting. Good point.
That's what computing is. And I would say AI or supercomputing is just that exponentially. But that doesn't make it a god in the sense that the machine, however powerful it is, any more than a backhoe is a god because it can dig a trench faster than 100 men, it is still something that people created. So the story hasn't really changed. At the center of the story are people, and their creative power may lead to unintended consequences, but the machines that they build did not make the universe and did not make people. People made the machines.
Right.
So but I would say the part I agree with is there's a spiritual component here for sure. People will worship AI as a god. AI, Ted Kazinski was likely right, will get away from us. We will be controlled by the thing that we made. All those are bad. Like, that's just.
So I definitely agree. People are going to worship AI. They're going to have relationships with AI. We're going to treat it as a god. And this is the part of the video that went super viral when Tucker mentions that Ted Kazinski was right, that all this technology is going to get away from us. People kind of misstrewn that to saying that he supported and agreed with the Unabomber. I don't think that's what he's saying here, though. He's saying that, hey, he was right, but he maybe had the wrong action in mind. But let's continue to listen. I think this is important.
It's bad, and we need to say unequivocally, it's bad. It's bad to be controlled by machines.
Right.
Machines are helpmates. Like, we created them to help us, to make our lives better, not to take orders from them. So I don't know why we're not having any of these conversations right now. We're just acting as if this is like some kind of virus like COVID that just spreads across the world inexorably. There's nothing we can do about it. Just wait to get it. It's like, no. If we agree that the outcome is bad, and specifically it's bad for people, we should care what's good for people. That's all we should care about. Is it good for people or not? If it's bad for people, then we should strangle it in its crib.
So he's saying that because AI can have negative consequences, we should just stop it now. I know there's a lot of people that feel this way, but that's not possible. It's already happened. And let's say the United States decided that we were going to stop AI development. You think China's going to stop AI development? Do you think Russia's going to stop AI development? No, you cannot put the genie back in the bottle. It's here, for better or for worse. And quite frankly, the idea that we're going to be able to predict what's going to happen with AI is preposterous on its own. Sam Altman, on the Joe Rogan podcast also, I believe, mentioned that, we thought that AI was going to replace all the truckers, when it actually depends. It's going to replace all the journalists and copywriters, all the intellectual roles. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of hubris there in saying we know exactly what's going to happen. But, listen, with all good, there is some bad. There's some yin and yang. But yeah, let's continue.
Right now.
Right.
And what is blow up the data centers? Like, why is that hard? If it's actually going to become what you just described, which is a threat to people, humanity, life, then we have a moral obligation to murder it immediately. And since it's not alive, we don't need to feel bad about that.
Well, you could say the same about the atomic bomb, right?
Yes, you could.
And you could say that we have to develop it like Oppenheimer felt before the Nazis did.
I love that. How'd that work? How'd that work?
Well,
I love, by the way, that people on my side, I'll just admit it, on the right, have spent the last 80 years defending dropping nuclear weapons on civilians. Like, are you joking?
Right.
That's just like prima facie evil.
Yeah.
If you can't, if we hadn't done that, then this, that, the other thing, that was actually a great savings. Like, no, it's wrong to drop nuclear weapons on people. And if you find yourself arguing that it's a good thing to drop nuclear weapons on people, then you are evil. Like, it's not a tough one, right? It's not a hard call for you. It's not a hard call for me. So with that in mind, like, why would you want nuclear weapons? It's like just a mindless, childish sort of intellectual exercise to justify, like, oh no, it's really good because someone else will get it. How about no?
So I'm not going to comment on this too deeply, just because I'm not as knowledgeable about this topic. But I will say that comparing AI and the efficiency that it brings to the nuclear bomb I think it's a false equivalency. I don't buy it.
But like spending all of your effort to prevent this from happening. Would you kill baby Hitler? Famously.
Right.
So I don't know why we're sitting back and allowing this to happen if we really believe it will extinguish the human race or enslave the human race. Like, how can that be good?
Yeah, but you don't know it, Tucker. You don't know that AI is going to enslave the human race. I mean, you can make an argument that cell phones have created us and turned us into slaves and are a net negative for humanity. But I don't dig it, dude.
Well, if God creates everything, if God created the universe and God creates people, God probably creates a process. And we think that we are very important because we are very important to us. But are we very important in a universal sense? Not really. Like, if the Earth just imploded and disappeared, if the sun went supernova and our whole solar system was blown to bits, the universe, it still exists.
It depends
and
how
God
wide
created...
you're, for sure. In the end, as Conan O'Brien, the famous philosopher, once said, every grave goes unvisited, which is true, and that's an important perspective. Pull out the lens a little bit. Does it really matter? No, it doesn't.
But it does matter.
Do your kids, how about this? Do your children matter?
Yes, sure.
Do their lives matter?
For
Would
us,
you die for them?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Everything matters. If you're not comfortable,
Exactly.
it matters. If you're sitting here like you don't want to wear headphones, like, let's not wear headphones. That matters.
Well, I think this is an interesting point, and I don't want to go super philosophical, but everything does matter because we are created in the image and likeness of God. Okay. And one of the problems I think that atheists run into is that if there is no God, then nothing really does matter. There is no real morality. If you are ashes to ashes, dust to dust, the only morality that matters is I want to have a good time while I'm on earth. There's no The morals don't exist. And the only way that you get the moral framework that we have in the United States and the Western world now is because it's built off of Judeo-Christian principles. Innocent till proven guilty, God-given rights. Like, this is stuff that is very revolutionary. And again, people, even like Bill Maher, who is not a Christian by any means, atheist, if I'm not mistaken, he still acknowledges that the rules that we have in place in the Bill of Rights and throughout the Western culture, are important. Innocent till proven guilty, for example. At any rate, everything matters because we are created in the image and likeness of God, and God has called upon us to treat others with dignity, respect, love, etc. So, I'm getting a little bit into the weeds here on this as far as the philosophical thing goes, but I think it's important at least to give a retort to that point.
Everything matters. I mean, at scale.
But what matters most, like,
right? That is the evil, right? The evil is it's the same thing as saying the necessary evil of dropping nuclear bombs on civilians is if you don't do that, then there'll be more evil. Then more things will happen. It's kind of the same thing. Like, it comes
from the same place, which is hubris. Like, imagining you're God, you have unlimited power, and you have omniscience. You can imagine what the future is going to be. You can't. You're a fucking idiot. You're a person. Like, you can't even make your wife happy.
Right.
Like, the limits of your power are really obvious. The limits of your wisdom, same. So, like, don't jump into shit, big things, whose outcomes you can't predict with certainty. Like,
yeah, but at the same time, Tucker, not jumping into something because you can't predict it is stupid also. Like, if you're on an entrepreneurial journey, you can't just say, "Oh, I'm not going to start. I'm not going to try this because I might fail." I think that's a stupid argument.
You can't know. Go in with humility. I guess that's what I'm saying. Right? So,
yeah.
And do what you can, knowing that you're probably going to screw it up and you probably won't achieve your goal, but like, you should try. And on the AI question, everyone I've ever talked to about, I'm hardly an expert. I don't own a computer. Okay. But,
I don't buy
everybody I've ever talked to, and there's many people, was like, yeah, it's could get away from us and enslave us. Well, let's say no.
Which, by the way, Elon the other day said there's like a 20% chance that AI is caused the extinction of humanity. Which, okay, 20% is a pretty big deal.
To slavery, how's that? Is that a tough one? Not for me.
No slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe a good use of nuclear weapons would be to hit the data centers. No, I'm serious. Like, why is that crazy?
It's not. It's not if you think that human beings are the end of this evolutionary chain.
Well, what else is? Some supercomputer in a data center outside Dulles Airport? No. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't actually think that individuals, I don't think I'm that important. My life is that important. I will die. I know that. And I try to keep that in mind every day.
But you're important to everybody that cares about you. You're important to the people around you.
If we don't think people are important, then what do we think is important? I guess that's what I'm saying.
Not necessarily that we don't think people are important, but if evolution is real, and if there is this constant,
it real?
I don't know, but it's visible. Like, you can measure it in certain animals.
You can measure adaptation.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence that in fact, I think we've kind of given up on the idea of evolution. The theory of evolution as articulated by Darwin is like kind of not true. Right?
In what sense?
Well, in the most basic sense, the idea that, all life emerged from a single cell organism and over time, and there would be a fossil record of that, and there's not. And
there's not a fossil record of transitionary species, like species that are adapting to its environment.
There's
and they
tons of record of
Right.
adaptation, and you see it in your own life. I mean, I have a lot of dogs. I see adaptation in dogs, through the
Sure.
literally.
Yeah, like I was saying, evolution may or may not be correct, but the idea that definitively we know it's correct is silly. Who the hell knows what happened a billion years ago? It's so stupid.
But no, there's no evidence at all zero, that, people, evolve seamlessly from a single cell amoeba. No, there's not. There's no chain in the fossil record of that at all. And that's why you don't actually hear people, you hear them make reference to evolution because the theory of adaptation is obviously true. But Darwin's theory's totally that's why it's still a theory almost 200 years later, No, we have not found that at all. And I can't even guess. I mean, I have my own theories on it, but they're not proven.
What are your theories?
God created people, distinctly, and animals. I mean, I think what every person on Earth thought until the mid-19th century, actually.
Right, but
it's not a new idea.
They didn't have computers. They didn't have a general understanding that we have today of the process.
Do you think we understand more now?
Yeah.
So this is kind of coming to a close here. I think one of the key components to this conversation, so there's a couple key components. One of them is that, humans, we have a tendency to think that we are so great and so smart and we have everything figured out. And I think history shows that's just not the case. I mean, 100 years ago, doctors were prescribing cigarettes to pregnant women so that they could relieve stress. Obviously, if you're pregnant, you don't want to be drinking and smoking. But 100 years ago, they thought that was a good idea. Now we know better. And what else are we going to know in 50 to 100 years? Maybe we shouldn't be drinking out of plastic bottles. There was a study that just came out recently, I think from Stanford, that showed that there were hundreds of thousands of chemicals in each bottled water that you drink. So there's an element of humanity, there's an element of hubris that we think that we're so amazing and we're so great and we have it all figured out. And that's just not the case. The second thing I think that we need to kind of clarify here is that you cannot put AI back in the bottle. It's spread wide enough. It's infused widely enough. You can't just say, okay, AI is illegal. At least I don't think so. And quite frankly, it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve me to count on that. I'm counting on AI being a part of everyday life. And I'm counting on myself and my students, my family, the people I interact with, to be able to adjust and use AI in everyday life. Again, that's why you're subscribed and watching videos on this channel, because we're going to adapt the technology and we're going to thrive. We're going to use it to empower our families and feed our families and contribute to our community, right? So that's the second thing. Thirdly, we have no idea where AI is going. It could go for bad, it could go for good, but again, being a biblical man myself, it doesn't serve me to worry about tomorrow. What I can focus on is what I can control today. How can I be a great human being today and serve my community and help others? That's what I can focus on. What's going to happen tomorrow? I'm not going to spend my time worrying about it. I'm going to focus on being the best man I am today. And the fourth point here is Tucker's verbology and the way that Tucker's talking about data centers. I don't like it. I got to be honest. I don't like it. And, I saw some clips online. They were saying Tucker Carlson is saying, go blow up data centers. I don't really think that that's what he's saying here. I think he's saying that, hey, if AI is going to take over the world and enslave humans, then we need to kill it in its crib. We need to blow up the data centers. We need to stop it now. Okay, if we could predict the future, then yeah, sure, we want to destroy it. But the idea that we're going to go around blowing up data centers because of something that might happen, I'm not down with that. I mean, that is violence, and I don't think that he's calling for violence in this clip, as some of the posts on X I've seen have alluded to. But I also don't think that I don't love the way he's talking about the data centers, because that's just not a way of handling. Again, I think that there's a little bit of hubris on his part. I think there's a bit of arrogance on his part to say that he knows what's going to happen and we need to stop it now. I'm not with that. I will say, though, that we don't know where AI is going to go. There is no way of predicting where it's going to go. Not you, not me, not Tucker, not Joe, not freaking Elon. We don't know where it's going to go. But what I do know is that it can really empower you in your business to be more effective and to spend more time with your family. I spend almost zero time on social media now. I shouldn't say zero. I don't spend very much time on social media now because I have all the systems and I have a team in place to handle it. And that's where I think I'm going to be spending my time. I think that's where you should be spending your time. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one, and peace.